So starting off, our first set of questions here are just general context background questions. Could you state your name, district, and school for the recorder?
Yes, Jamie, Jamey, Majewski, Majewski, and I'm the principal at Clear Creek Independent School District in League City, Texas.
Thank you. And how long have you been at Clear Creek High School, and how long have you been principal there?
I've been off and on at Clear Creek High School for the last 18 years, probably a total of 13 total years, I would say. I've worked as a teacher, assistant principal, associate principal, then left, and then I became a principal of a intermediate school or a middle school, and then became the principal here at Creek. So I've been the principal at Creek going on year number 6.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Was Hurricane Harvey the first storm you've had to address in a professional capacity?
No, Hurricane Ike was the first one that we addressed several years ago, and that was about 10 or 11 years ago, I think. So,
yeah.
That was the first one as a professional.
What if anything made Harvey unique or different from Ike?
I think the impact in terms of damage and loss of property and people's homes and the impact it had on public buildings was different than Ike. I think what we saw from Ike was a lot of wind damage. And some flooding in certain areas. We had a lot of rain during Ike, but we didn't have 50-plus inches, in a short period of time like we had during Harvey. And but with that said, Harvey just created so much more property damage and devastation and disruption of lives than I think Ike did.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And that's leading into our next set of questions. Here we're thinking about the general impact of Hurricane Harvey on students, school personnel, and school operations. What were the primary challenges that Harvey created for school operations?
The first challenge was ensuring our staff were safe and had what they need. Were they relocated somewhere? Where were all our staff?
Mm-hmm.
That was the main concern. We were able to put processes in place to identify where our staff members were, what property damage they suffered, did they lose their homes, etc. And then you move from your staff, not they're more important than our students, but then you start focusing on, okay, how are our students impacted? And you start providing support processes for our students as well. So I guess accounting for our staff members was number one, and then number two was our students.
Yeah, thank you. Mm-hmm. Did the storm cause any damage to your school that affected operations? And if so, could you describe them?
Yeah, very, very minimal at our school. We had some water damage in some locker rooms. We had some water in some classrooms that damaged the carpet. We had a little bit of water in our gym areas, but nothing significant where we would have to cancel school.
Mm-hmm.
We canceled school for other reasons, but if we had to start school the next day after Harvey, we could have.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, nothing too major.
Thank you. Which then I think, did you experience any significant losses of equipment or supplies?
Very minimal. We lost some uniforms that were on the floor in one of our locker rooms, some baseball uniforms.
Yeah.
That's pretty much the most significant part of it.
And
yeah.
And did you experience any significant transportation challenges?
Yeah, because when the roads were flooded, it was very difficult to get around. There was only certain passageways that you can take. After the water receded, it was fine. The roads were pretty much clear. But when we still had high water, there was very few places you can get to without running into some high water.
Yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
What were the effects of the hurricane on students in your school?
At our school, compared to some of the others in the district, we were, I would say, if you had to rate it on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the worst, that you lost your entire building or, your students were impacted the most, I would say we were about a 5 or 6, if that makes sense. We had certain pockets in our community where our students were impacted. We had some apartments that were deemed condemned and they had to move out, and we had some neighborhoods that were hit hard. But in general, most of our student population came out okay.
Okay, thank you. Tell me about student mobility within and across neighboring districts after the storm.
Yeah, I don't have the numbers, and I probably need to get those. We did have a few students leave us because when they lost their homes, they relocated to relatives, maybe in another district out of state. So we had a few of those, and then we also had those who came to us because they lost their home in another part of our district or another part of the state, and therefore relocated to Clear Creek High School. So I would say it's probably a wash, at the end of the day. We probably gain some, lose some on that.
Yeah. The next questions are going to be a little bit repetitive here.
That's okay.
To what extent did students leave your school for another school or district? It sounds like it was some, but fairly minimal.
Yeah. Probably, I would say less than 5%.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, how did that loss of students impact your school?
It had very little impact.
How about student attendance?
Yeah, that's a good question. Student attendance was up and down throughout the year as a result of Harvey, with people having to take their kids out of school to tend to their own homes or find new places to live, etc. Yeah, so attendance was pretty up and down throughout the entire year. We had some other factors like school violence play into that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we probably had I'm going to my 6th year, so of all the years I've been here, we had our worst year for attendance.
Okay, thank you. To what extent did you coordinate with other schools to serve your students after the hurricane?
We did coordinate with other schools. We have a good cooperation with our neighboring schools and CCISD. Our district undertook a program where we took care of families. We had a distribution center for goods and food and all those kinds of things, and clothing. So we all worked together and volunteered to make sure that was up and running. And so, yeah, we all pitched in to help each other.
Yeah, thank you. Getting back to almost what you were saying at the beginning here, what were the effects of the hurricane on teachers and other staff?
Well, I had about 20 teachers either lose part of their home or all of their home. So that was impactful, just ensuring that they could report to work when it's deemed time to open up school again. Was a little bit of a challenge. Of course, we were very patient and understanding if they missed school for any reason due to Harvey, to tend to their home or meet contractors or meet with insurance agents. So we were very understanding of that. So it did have an impact on teacher attendance.
Yeah, thank you. Tell me about teacher and staff mobility after the storm. What proportion of your teachers and staff were able to return to work immediately following Harvey?
I would say 80% of our staff were able to return to work immediately. About 20% were in a little bit of a hardship situation where they had to make other arrangements to live in order to be employed here in the area where they can travel to work.